We often misunderstand genius. It's mistaken for a spark of brilliance, a stroke of luck, or a natural-born gift. But true genius is rarely the result of an accident. It is not about being born with a sharper mind, faster reflexes, or deeper insight. Instead, genius is built, constructed slowly, quietly, and deliberately over time. The foundation of that construction is not talent, it is self-discipline. Talent might open a door, but it's self-discipline that keeps it open. A person may be born with a capacity for language, for numbers, or for artistic vision, but without consistent practice, without structure, without a code of personal discipline, that capacity fades. Meanwhile, someone with average ability, through relentless repetition, deep focus, and daily effort, refines themselves into someone extraordinary. Self-discipline means doing the same small thing with care, even when no one is watching. It means choosing structure over chaos, stillness over distraction, progress over comfort. The highly genius woman understands this. She does not wait for motivation. She trains without applause. She reads when it's easier to scroll. She wakes early when it would be easier to sleep. She says oh no when it's tempting to say yes or to short-term pleasure. What makes her genius is not what she knows, but what she practices daily without compromise. While others chase intensity, she chooses consistency. It is not the hour of brilliance that defines her, but the minutes she devotes every single day. Her self-discipline becomes her ritual. These rituals shape her mind, and that mind becomes a force, not overnight, but through repetition. People will call her gifted. They'll assume she was born with a vow. But they won't see the early mornings when she trained her focus like a muscle. They won't see the hours spent mastering the basics, even when her ego wanted to move on. They won't see how she kept showing up, even on the days when everything inside her whispered to stop. Self-discipline doesn't always look glamorous. It's the quiet choice to study instead of scroll, to ask deeper questions instead of accepting quick answers, to delay gratification, not because she enjoys struggle, but because she understands growth. The genius woman isn't defined by natural ability. She's defined by her ability to return again and again to the habits that elevate her. She's aware that greatness is not the result of one big moment, but the accumulation of countless small ones stacked carefully over time. Each day she chooses who she becomes, not through grand declarations, but through disciplined action repeated without drama. Before any challenge is faced in the external world, the true conflict begins within. The mind is where doubt first speaks, where fear plants its seeds, and where resistance builds its walls. Every decision, every reaction, every breakthrough or breakdown originates first in the unseen space between thought and action. That space is the battleground. And unless we train ourselves to navigate it, we lose the fight before it begins. A highly genius woman understands this. She knows that her greatest enemy is not failure, nor criticism, nor chaos around her. It is the undisciplined mind. Left unchecked, the mind will spiral into stories that are not true, fears that do not belong to the present moment, and assumptions that have no place in clarity. That's why she trains it every day. Not with aggression, but with calm, consistent awareness. The battlefield is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is the quiet war between focus and distraction, between a meaningful task and the impulse to escape, between the urge to speak and the wisdom to remain silent. It is fought in silence, in solitude, and often without recognition. But make no mistake, it is a war. Because the mind, if untrained, will sabotage even the strongest will. Thoughts arise that question her worth. Voices echo that say she is not ready. Memories replay to convince her of her limitations. These are not accidents, they are patterns, and patterns can be broken, but only if she is willing to face them, fully, consciously, without flinching. She does not fight her thoughts with more thoughts. She observes them. She breathes through them. She breathes through them. She learns to separate her identity from the noise within. The highly genius woman recognizes that discipline of the mind is more than positive thinking. It is mental strategy. It is understanding her triggers. It is choosing response over reaction. It is the ability to hold stillness in the middle of emotional storms. Where others panic, she pauses. Where others avoid, she confronts. Where others complain, she redirects. She does not wait for peace to arrive. She creates it within again and again. Not because life is easy, but because she refuses to let her mind be the source of unnecessary suffering. She does not believe every thought that passes through. She listens selectively. She thinks critically. She chooses deliberately. Her power is not in suppressing thought, but in filtering it, letting in only what serves and discarding what weakens. She knows that if she can win in the mind, the outer world holds fewer threats. Because the mind, once mastered, no longer distorts reality, it sharpens. What we give our attention to, we give our power to. Every thought, every emotion, every choice begins with awareness. Wherever the mind rests, whether on purpose or by accident, our energy follows, and that energy shapes not only what we experience, but who we become. This is not philosophy, it is the architecture of daily life. A highly genius woman lives by this law. She understands that her awareness is a limited resource. Like a beam of light, it can illuminate, nurture, and grow whatever it touches. But it can also be scattered, diluted, and wasted on things that do not matter. She does not allow her mind to drift unconsciously from distraction to distraction. She decides each day where her attention will go because she knows that where her awareness goes, her life follows. If she places her awareness on fear, fear becomes larger. If she places it on gratitude, gratitude expands. If her awareness is absorbed in comparison, envy multiplies. But if she returns it to growth, to learning, to service, her energy rises, not in sudden bursts, but in steady upward current. This is not accidental. It is the outcome of deep internal training. She is aware of how modern life pulls attention in 1,000 directions. Notifications, conversations, noise, demands, expectations. And yet, she does not surrender to that pull. She creates mental boundaries. She turns off what is irrelevant. She knows that every unconscious scroll, every mindless hour spent consuming noise is not just wasted time, it is drained energy. Not because the world is too loud, but because she chooses not to participate in that volume. She applies this awareness to her thoughts. When anxiety arises, she does not push it away blindly. She brings her full attention to it, studies it, learns from it. Because whatever is seen clearly loses its power to control. She knows that healing begins not with avoidance, but with awareness. And whatever she brings to light begins to transform. This is also how she builds her genius. When she is creating, her focus is total, no divided attention, no half-present efforts. She pours her awareness into her work, into her relationships, into her moments of solitude. That presence is what gives her energy strength. Not just the amount of time she spends on something, but the quality of her attention while doing it. She treats her awareness like currency. She invests it where it grows value. She withdraws it where it is wasted. She is not perfect, but she is intentional. She recognizes that awareness is more than mental activity. It is the gateway of creation, the source of insight, the origin of clarity. The world outside is noisy, demanding, and often unpredictable. There are deadlines to meet, people to manage, goals to chase, and rules to fulfill. Many try to control this chaos directly by organizing, by dominating, by reacting quickly. But a highly genius woman understands something deeper. No matter how much she organizes the outside, it will never truly settle until she addresses the source of unrest within. The external is only a reflection of the internal. Before she tries to lead others, she learns to lead herself. Before she demands clarity from the world, she seeks clarity in her own thoughts. Before she makes decisions, she quiets the noise inside her, not because she is avoiding the outer world, but because she knows she cannot lead effectively from a place of disorder. Her inner world, her emotions, her beliefs, her patterns of thinking become her first domain of mastery. She studies her triggers. She listens to her own fears. She doesn't run from discomfort, she sits with it. When the world overwhelms her, she doesn't immediately try to change the situation. She first regulates her response to it. She trains her nervous system to remain calm in moments of pressure, because she knows that chaos on the outside becomes dangerous only when it enters the mind. This is not passive living. This is deep discipline. Inner mastery is not achieved by avoidance. It's achieved through awareness, responsibility, and daily practice. She questions the stories she tells herself. She reframes her setbacks as data. She doesn't wait for the world to affirm her. She builds a foundation of self-trust so strong that it carries her through the moments when the world does not. When something external goes wrong, she doesn't ask who is to blame. She asks, what am I being shown about myself? Every outer challenge is a mirror. Every difficulty is an invitation. And instead of resisting these signals, she uses them as tools for internal refinement. The more she knows herself, the less she is controlled by others. Mastery of the outer world becomes a byproduct, not the goal. Opportunities seem to flow more naturally, not because life becomes easier, but because she becomes more aligned, more grounded, more in control of herself. Her work sharpens, her relationships deepen, her presence strengthens, all because the storm inside her has been calmed. She does not need to force the world to bend to her will. She needs only to return again and again to that inner center where emotion becomes information, thought becomes strategy, and silence becomes strength. From that place, she acts not out of reaction, but out of clear, intentional direction. Greatness is not something she runs after. It is not a title she hopes to wear one day, nor a spotlight she waits to stand under. She does not treat it as a destination on some faraway map. Instead, she treats it as a way of walking, a posture, a practice, a daily alignment between who she is and who she chooses to be. She understands that to chase greatness is to believe it is somewhere outside of her, waiting to be found or granted or approved. But she has long outgrown that illusion. Greatness is not something handed down. It is built quietly in private hours through ordinary acts done with extraordinary presence. In each moment, she has a choice to react or respond, to rush or breathe, to avoid or face, to compromise or hold steady. She knows these are not small choices. They are the bricks that build the woman she is becoming. So she treats them with respect. She does not wait for a defining moment to show who she is. She becomes that person by choosing deliberately, again and again when no one is watching. Whether she is writing an email, preparing a meal, making a decision, or having a conversation, she brings all of herself to the task. There is no role too small for her full attention, no task too unglamorous for her excellence. Because she knows that the person who shows up in the mundane is the same person who will stand in the remarkable. There is no separation. She lets go of the need to be impressive. Her aim is not admiration. It is alignment, alignment with her values, alignment with her inner truth, alignment with the standards she sets not for others, but for herself. And because she holds herself to that standard, she doesn't need to chase greatness. It begins to echo in everything she touches. She is not in a hurry. She doesn't measure her worth by speed or comparison. Her pace is steady and her progress is quiet. But over time, the difference becomes visible, not because she declared her greatness, but because it revealed itself in her choices, how she speaks, how she leads, how she creates, how she shows up even when it's hard. She becomes the kind of woman who inspires not with noise, but with depth, not with perfection, but with integrity. Her greatness is not made up of grand moments. It is the slow burn of discipline, presence, and self-respect that accumulates quietly into something unshakable. Wisdom does not demand attention. It does not arrive with loud opinions, grand gestures, or the need to be seen. It moves softly, often unnoticed, present in the pauses between words and the restraint between impulses. A highly genius woman understands this, not through theory, but through lived experience. She knows that the deepest understanding rarely needs to be declared, and that the most powerful energy in a room is often the one that speaks the least. She does not confuse noise with knowledge. She has no interest in appearing wise, only in being wise. That means she listens more than she speaks. She watches more than she reacts. She reflects before she responds. This isn't passivity, it's presence. She does not need to rush to fill the silence because she is no longer afraid of what silence reveals. Her strength is rooted, not broadcast. When she enters a room, she brings stillness with her. Not because she tries to control the atmosphere, but because she has already learned to master her own Medusa. Her presence speaks for her. There is no need to prove her intelligence, to outshine others, or to compete for recognition. She is not interested in winning arguments. She is interested in understanding people, seeing patterns, and making decisions that are aligned with truth, not ego. Wisdom, for her, is not a product of age, but of awareness. It's the way she notices what others miss, the subtle shift in someone's tone, the tension behind a smile, the moment where patience would serve better than speed. She does not react out of habit. She creates space between stimulus and response. That space is where her clarity lives. Even when she knows more, she does not always speak. Even when she sees further, she does not always correct. Because wisdom is not about proving others wrong. It is about knowing when to guide, when to wait, and when to let others discover the truth for themselves. She respects the process of growth, both in herself and in others. She is not drawn to chaos. She does not entertain drama. Her peace is too expensive to bargain with noise. In situations of tension, she does not escalate. She grounds. When others become reactive, she becomes still. When pressure rises, she slows down. Her quiet is not absence, it is intention. People may overlook her at first, mistaking her calm for passivity, but over time it becomes clear there is depth behind her silence, certainty behind her restraint, and power behind her patience. She does not chase the spotlight because her light is internal, steady, and self-sustained.